Raptors Weekly podcast for the week of August 22nd. Summertime is in full swing, but we have to do a podcast because the title of the podcast is the Raptors Weekly podcast. So here we are again, Will.
That's right. We're only here so we don't get fined.
And also we're here to celebrate the fact that Carmelo Anthony has won his third Olympic gold medal. And in the post-game interview, he teared up, celebrating his country's domination of, who was it again? Serbia? Or Yugoslavia? One of the... Yeah, so by 30 points. And I think there was a Bleacher Report article, which I kind of like... I was actually checking out trade rumors and stuff, and at the bottom, you know how they have like 18 article, like spam count or whatever? And one of them was like, Carmelo saying that, you know, I wouldn't trade my 3 Olympic gold medals for nothing. And I was like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. He would, right? He'd trade him for an NBA title.
You know, there was some controversy because, like, he gave an interview with Mark Stein. And apparently, he said, you know, I would be content if I didn't win an NBA championship and I had 3 rings or 3 Olympic titles or gold medals at the end of it.
Like how?
No, come on, Carmelo. You would clearly trade at least one of those for an NBA title.
He would trade all 3.
Probably.
He just doesn't want to say it because he's stuck with the Knicks, and the chance of winning a title there is zilch.
Yeah, he put himself in that position to get stuck with the Knicks, though.
Yeah. What were his options back then? It was Chicago.
Yeah, he could have went to
Golden
Bulls.
State, I think it was, like somewhere in the West, maybe.
I mean, like Houston.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been more competitive than the Knicks. So look, the Knicks were definitely the least competitive option. They gave him the most money, so he stayed. But it's also the Knicks. It gets to stay in New York. He's a big hero in New York now. Everything that happens with the Knicks, it doesn't fall on Carmelo. No matter how shit the Knicks are, it's everyone else's fault.
Yeah.
It's a good gig for Carmelo.
He's got the Chris Bosh effect going on in New York. Remember that when things were bad with the Raptors, nobody really blamed Chris Bosh. He was like the good player on a bad team, but you know nobody really threw mud at him for good reason. But I think Carmelo is like kind of in the same glow in New York where he can't do no wrong. I think they just look at him as, you know, the Knicks suck, but at least they have a half decent player, and that's what, you know, like makes him survive in New York. Yeah. All right, so that's that. That's Carmelo. And then you want to talk about U.S. basketball for a second? They beat Serbia. DeMar DeRozan. Did you watch these games at all?
You know, I've watched a lot of the other games, like between games that didn't feature the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Games that did feature the United States, I watched a little bit of it, but I don't know. I find those games a little bit less entertaining than some of the more competitive games between other countries.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I caught the gold medal match. It was, I thought it'd be closer than 30 points, considering the last time these two countries played, it was only separated by 3 points in group stages. But then Serbia couldn't score at all, basically in the second quarter, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, is the U.S. the most dominant country in team sports ever? Like, when it comes to basketball, like, are they the most dominant in any sport?
I think. Well, I mean, there's things like ping pong, like for China, like ping pong, like they swept the podium this year. In previous years, you're allowed to send like 3 people to the event, so like China could sweep, you know, gold, silver, and bronze. Now you can only send 2, so China can only send, you know, take gold and silver, but they do. They have. There's some piece that was run by the New York Times where they looked into like all the other countries that sent ping pong players, and like something like 44 non-Chinese players that were born in China, basically representing other teams. So like that's like something that you can have on different Olympic sports. But in terms of like team sports, it's pretty close. Like if you combine both men and women, that's the thing, because the women's basketball team, relative to their field, like the women's basketball team is even more dominant. No one could touch the U.S. women's team.
Yeah. How's the Chinese women's ping pong team? Are they as dominant?
Very dominant. Shout out to my girl Ding Ning.
Just make that up.
No, it's a real name. Look it up. She won gold.
What other Olympic sport do you enjoy? Will be besides basketball and ping pong? Is there one particular favorite that you always tune into at the Summer Olympics?
I mean, yeah, you gotta watch the classics. You know, like 100-meter sprint, 200-meter sprint, stuff like that. But you know, there's other ones that I've discovered. Wrestling is I've always liked watching wrestling. I did a bit of it in high school and stuff, but yeah, it's great. And I don't know if you saw it today, but there was a Mongolian wrestler who thought he had the victory. He was up 7-6 with like 5 seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
So the last 5 seconds, he got the last point to go up, and he's like sort of celebrating around the ring. He's ducking his opponent, and then he thought he had won, and then his coaches came on the thing. They were kissing like the ring. They were like hoisting up in the air.
Yeah.
As it turns out, the referees docked him a point, or docked him 2 points for excessive celebrating or something like that.
No, yeah.
They lost, and then the Mongolian coach is stripped.
Yeah, I heard that. I mean, he basically pulled a J.R. Smith type celebration there. He can't do that. You gotta be composed in the Olympics because those crooked judges will dock you for everything. Yeah, I saw this on like one clip. The TV was on mute, and I saw these like people like taking their shirts off and looking at the coach. I mean, he's clearly not a player because he's not buff or anything like that. I was like, what the hell is going on? Then I read the article and I was like, yeah, that was a sign of protest, taking his shirt off. Imagine like Greg Popovich taking his shirt off, like in protest of a call.
Yeah, I mean,
or like Dwayne Casey just like starting to strip.
No, Dwayne Casey's too fashionable to strip. He looks way too good in his suits.
He probably just like unbutton the top button on his shirt, and that'd be his protest.
I said on Twitter that like I could see someone like Sam Mitchell getting so irate at a call, like him taking off a shoe and whipping it at somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Mitch.
What NBA coach right now do you think is capable of getting physical with a referee because he's so upset?
Stan Van Gundy, maybe.
Stan Van Gundy, good shout out. Yeah, Stan Van Gundy for sure. Yeah. I don't know.
Kind of a dying breed. Everyone else is like a businessman. Looks like someone who's walked straight off of Wall Street and then onto the sidelines.
I'd probably go with Smitch. Yeah. So what's Smitch doing in Minnesota? What's his new thing?
I don't know. I think he might be still as an assistant or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another guy who never really rebounded from being fired with the Raptors. Speaking of the Raptors, we should probably talk about them at some point. JV is under scrutiny again for having a questionable performance in the Olympics, and there's a quote out there that goes, he's got to have his head checked out because he's not playing well. Do you think he's under more pressure with the national team than he is with the Raptors? Because it sure feels like it. I think he takes it upon himself. There's a sense of pride with him. I think he expects a lot more for himself when he's playing with the national team because they look to him for a lot more than the Raptors do to him. And I feel like when he doesn't perform there, he gets like 10 times more disappointed than if he has like a string of 10 bad games with the Raps.
Yeah, of course. Well, two things, right? With the Raptors, the Raptors clearly have two players in DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry who the team sort of rests upon. So it's not totally Jonas' responsibility to win or lose games, right? He's not the go-to guy really on either end of the floor. But, for Lithuania, it's he's not necessarily their best player all the time or their most used player, but he's expected to be their best player. He's definitely the most well-known player in the NBA right now. So, and he's very committed to Lithuania and Lithuanian basketball. We've seen him do it 6 years in a row now, just 6 summers, even dating back to like under 17, under 18 tournaments and stuff. JV was like the MVP in those years, and he clearly loves the national team, which is a little bit surprising, like you said. Why the Lithuanian coach Jonas Valanciunas, I think his name is. He said, sort of translated from Lithuanian, so maybe it was lost in translation, but he said, JV has to devote himself more to basketball because he's kind of getting by on talent right now. Yeah. And that's pretty damning words from a guy who understands and knows Jonas pretty well.
I don't even see that. I don't think that's a fair assessment at all because I don't think Jonas gets by with talent alone. I think he has some talent, but I think he's got strong work ethic. At least from an NBA perspective, when he's with the Raptors, I'd say he's one of the hardest working guys we have. Sometimes when he blows a defensive cover, everybody notices, and it looks like he's lazy. But I think that laziness or that how he fell asleep on one play, people kind of make too much of it. But if you look at his overall body of work, I'd say after Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, I'd say Valanciunas is right up there in terms of effort expended per game.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to throw DeMar DeRozan under the bus, but like DeMar doesn't expend as much energy on defense as Jonas does, and like Jonas, you can tell like when he has a bad defensive possession, maybe because he knows that Dwayne Casey's more willing to pull him than he is with one of his star guards, but Jonas gets pretty frustrated in himself, and like you said, after those quotes came out, you saw a lot of the Raptors reporters. I thought Ryan Wolstad and Josh Lewenberg and Blake Murphy as well, our guy. They've all tweeted about how they've interacted with Jonas here, obviously in the capacity with the Raptors, and they've always talked. And everyone from the Raptors organization likes the way Jonas works and has no complaints about his work ethic. So, yeah, it just seemed a little bit out of the blue, to be honest. Yeah. And like he's played really well on the national teams before. I know we've talked about this in the past, but like Jonas would always come back improved from international play. Um, especially how they would use him in pick and roll. And this year, I don't know, maybe it was just because some coaches at least they admitted that like, listen, taking away JV and the pick and roll was our main main focus on defense, and it was hard for him to adapt to that kind of attention. But
it's kind of odd because if you look at his international career, his last couple of outings for this one, it's sort of flatlined. It's like before, I remember he used to every tournament he played in, he showed something new. I remember this a few years ago when he had that post game. He broke out in the FIBA championship. I remember, but the last couple of times it's been fairly, nothing new from JV. But when you compare that to his, NBA presence, I think this playoffs that just happened, I think you saw him like take that game to a whole new level. So even though his international career is not fledgling or it's kind of flatlining, I think his NBA career is kind of on the cusp of taking off. And the playoffs that just ended saw a JV that shows that's a guy that could be very important to any playoff team.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's the weird thing about this the Olympics, right? I mean, I think as fans we sort of expect things, and it makes a lot. Things make a lot more sense to us if they happen linearly. So if Jonas has a strong playoffs, he's going to build on in the off season, and then you'll see it at the Olympics. Let's see how a strong Olympics, and then sort of carry that momentum over to the NBA season. Like that's not how it works. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think anyone who's concerned about Jonas's production going into this season, I don't think there's any way Jonas is gonna be worse than last season.
Yeah,
he was a pretty good player last season. So
if you look at any Raptor and their 5-year projection, DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, Jonas Valanciunas, I think of those three, I know Kyle Lowry's been great, but over a 5-year period, I'd say JV is the most predictable player. Like he's the most dependable in terms of what you're going to get out of him for the next 5 years, if he stays healthy, obviously, because he's entering that age where consistency just kind of becomes the norm, and I totally expect him to just be like 15 points, 10 rebounds at the minimum for the next 5 years if he stays with us.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, and the only reason I can't say that about Kyle Lowry is because he's getting up there, so he's 30, 31, so who knows how he performs at 33, 34, and DeMar DeRozan is a little unpredictable to me. But yeah, I think I've been satisfied with JV for quite some time now, and I think this Olympics is just like it doesn't mean anything to me, and it certainly doesn't mean anything it doesn't indicate anything to me on how he might perform when the regular season starts.
Yeah, no, for sure. Anyone who's over panicking, like there's no reason to panic, at least from a Raptors perspective. From a Lithuanian perspective, maybe, because Jonas is your future of the team, but...
Yeah, so some guys like on Twitter is like, did his trade value go down? I'm like, fuck, no. Come on, man.
They played 6 games.
Trade value? Like, his trade value went up in the postseason like twofolds. Like, it doesn't matter what happened in the Olympics that it's going to affect it.
I'm patiently anticipating the day Masai Ujiri flips Jonas for Boogie.
Yeah.
Running with that theory.
Hey, did you watch the bronze medal game, Spain versus Australia?
I did.
What about that foul call against what was it, Patty Mills?
Patty Mills.
Yeah. Well, phantom call, man. That did not look like a foul. It was a Euro step, half travel, and they called a foul on the defensive player.
And the worst part is like the ref waited like 3-4 seconds to see if the layup attempt was going to rim out or not.
Yeah.
You could tell he already had the decision made in mind.
Yeah.
So, look, man, as Canadian fans, we know how FIBA can be sort of finicky with their calls.
Mm-hmm. But did you see Andrew Bogut's post-game comments? He's basically calling out the refs. He's like, this is totally expected. A lot of flaky calls throughout the game, but this is what you expect with Olympic referees.
Yeah, no, I feel you got to feel bad for Australia too, because they have yet to win a medal.
Yeah.
At the Olympics, and which is kind of shocking considering they're half the roster is NBA players, and solid NBA players, I would say. And they looked so strong to begin the tournament. They crushed France, beat Serbia. Had that really competitive game against the United States, in which if it wasn't for Melo, they could have won that one.
Yeah.
And then they end like this, no medal. That sucks.
I just feel that a gold medal or even a medal means so much more. Maybe I'm totally wrong on this. To these like other teams like Australia, Serbia, France than it does to the U.S. Am I being like just wrong here?
Well, I mean,
doesn't it feel like these guys just play like extra hard and would really appreciate a medal up? With the U.S., it's almost like a given they're going to win. It's a foregone conclusion. And when they win, yeah, they got the flags around and celebrate or whatever. But I just feel like if Serbia would have won that game, there would have been like parades and shit in Serbia.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Especially how much Serbia and whatever the former Yugoslavia loves. There's a deep tradition of basketball from the Balkan area. So, but like, yeah, I mean, you got on one hand you got players like Melo and Paul George and DeAndre Jordan saying like, this gold medal feels like a championship.
Yeah.
But like on the same time, you're kind of like, really though,
Yeah.
it's not the same for you. You gotta look at the pay scale and stuff like that. I mean, this is a bigger topic about just like should professional athletes compete in the sort of quote unquote amateur competition like the Olympics, but like okay, let's say Melo doesn't win the gold medal. Well, that's fine. He goes back home. He collects $25 million from the Knicks. He's still a big star there. It doesn't really affect his bottom line too much. Whereas, the best Serbian player, Milos Teodosic, he's making like $2 million.
Yeah.
And some guy at the end of the bench is, probably works a second job and stuff like that. Like, yeah, of course it would mean a little bit more to win the medal for some of those countries.
Yeah. What else about Olympics? Nothing. I think that kind of wraps up the Olympic talk.
You want to talk Lowry and DeRozan at all? What's USA?
Well, I don't know. I want to talk DeRozan a little bit. I mean, some people are complaining about his lack of playing time, and I'm like, why would you give DeRozan playing time in the Olympics? Like, what does he do better than any of the guards that are out there? And why do I even care? I mean, do you have an opinion here? Because I feel that it's totally, from a basketball point of view, it makes total sense for DeMar DeRozan not play heavy minutes just because the other guys on the team are simply better than him.
Yeah, and it's also a situation where DeRozan doesn't really make for good role player. He doesn't do good role player things. Like, he's not great on defense. He's not great as an outside shooter. And he can handle the ball a little bit. Obviously, he can get to the basket, and those are good skills. But he's most effective when you can put the ball in his hands. There's no, and in a setting like the United States, national team, which is pretty much like an all-star team.
Yeah.
You got a lot of other players who can handle the ball, run the offense. In that case, you really want someone who can be like a Klay Thompson type. Instead.
There's one thing DeMar DeRozan does better than, I guess, his peers on the team, and that's get to the line. But this is a tournament where getting to the line isn't really valued. Like a high pace, shooting, spacing, those things are, and that's not what his forte is. So I totally get it.
Yeah. No, it's fun. He comes in and He comes in during garbage time and he throws down great dunks.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
And tries 360s, a lot of them.
Yeah, he actually got one down the other night. Forget what it was, but yeah.
All right, talk about Kyle Lowry.
Well, I mean, look. Well, first of all, in the gold medal game, I don't know if you saw it, but he pulled out a sham god dribble.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? That inside out dribble.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And the Serbian defender who was reaching across, trying to get the steal from Lowry, stumbles and then falls like a solid 10 meters and just slides.
Yeah.
That was an awesome play.
There's actually a lot of that going on, like just players falling after basic moves.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes it look a lot better. But seriously, though, that's probably the first time I've seen Larry pull out a sham god in a game. That's pretty impressive. He practices with Kyrie Irving for 2 weeks, and now he's doing Kyrie stuff. But, I mean, speaking of Kyrie Irving, though, like, I thought Larry played better than Kyrie Irving throughout most of the Olympics. Certainly fit the team better. Like what I just said with DeRozan not being a good role player, not being good at role player type things. Lowry's excellent at role player type things, so he was perfect for this team. And he played some very important minutes for the United States throughout the Olympics.
And that's because Lowry in his career has been a role player. When he was with Memphis, he started off as a role. And that's the big difference between Lowry and DeRozan, that DeRozan was always, I guess he was a role player too, but he was always a starter right from the beginning. It was kind of handed to him,
as a 19-year-old. And
exactly,
he was not good in his first 3 years, but he got a lot of rope to work through it.
Yeah. All right, man. I know you got a tweet out there for some Twitter questions, so let's do it.
All right, yeah. Anytime you want the site to answer a question for you, just at Raptors Public. I think everyone knows that by now. Okay. Let's see now. Let me see. The first question comes from Noreen Ramsey. It says rookie minutes and who gets the last roster spot. Starting lineups and projected. What? All right, let's just go with that one. Let's go rookie minutes. So the Raptors will have. Well, let's include the sophomores as well. So like Jakob Poeltl and Pascal Siakam, do you see them playing any time in the rotation?
I guess you have to, right? I mean, after JV, you got to play somebody. So it comes down between Pirtle. How do you say Pirtle? Is it a
Poeltl,
Pirtle?
apparently, yeah.
There's an R in there, I guess, somewhere.
Yeah.
Pirtle, Lucas Nogueira, and Siakam. Depends on how you want to classify Siakam, because I don't see Siakam getting a lot of minutes at the 4, because that's Patrick Patterson and Jared Sullinger taking up those minutes. So it's really backing up JV where the minutes might come from between Pirtle, Nogueira, and Siakam. So of those three, from based on the limited amount that I've seen, I'd say if I had to rank them, I'd go Siakam, Lucas, and Pirtle in that order. I'll
Okay.
explain why. I'll explain why.
Yeah.
Siakam is basically a
Hustle
dude, garbage man, JYD 3.0, whatever you want to call him. He's basically that. So you put him on the floor, he's gonna get you a rebound, maybe block a shot, run the floor. He's fast though. Like he's the fastest of all those three combined, 100%. So that he's got that working for him. I'll say Lucas after that because he's got a bit of experience. He's a somewhat okay defender, and he's a great passer. So you might see him get some burn. And Pirtle, I find, is a little too slow and too similar to JV at this point. I know he's supposedly he's got more range than JV, but I just
Not
find
really.
that exactly, not really, because there's some like video like where he's shooting threes in summer league. That's why I'm saying that, but yeah, not really. So I think he's not as much of a contrast to JV as the other two are. And when you're looking at a backup position, you always want to get somebody who's a little different than the guy he's replacing. So that's my rationale there.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mostly agree with you. I think the backup center spot, I think we're going to see a lot of time with Jared Sullinger in there. I know he's not necessarily the conventional center, but he moves his feet all right, and he rebounds really well. So, I mean, he's not going to protect the basket because he really can't jump and he's kind of small, or at least height-wise, he's kind of small.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, I kind of agree with you a little bit there too. I think Baby probably gets the first crack in minutes just because he's been here forever, and if he can like produce in his third season with a sizable opportunity at backup center, like what are you really doing with Bebe, right? So, um, and I see your point with Pirtle and JV. They are really similar. So every time you want to play someone in that type of role, you probably want to go with Jonas because he's much better at that right now.
There's a question I asked the last two guests, Tim and I think Sam. I don't know who it was. And I go, if Bebe was a free agent, would a team sign him?
I mean, you can see a team probably taking a flyer on him. He is talented. He's not a lot of 7-footers that are agile, but he doesn't really stay focused on defense at the moment, at least at the NBA level.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I mean, like, oh yeah, Norman Powell probably, I don't know. I mean, you can see Norman Powell getting like 15 minutes a game, probably 20 towards the end.
What do you think of the guy that is interesting here? Norman Powell, I think, is a backup shooting guard at this point. I think Bruno.
It's Ross.
Ross is I guess backup small forward, right?
Oh man, I hate when Ross plays small forward.
Well, let's not turn this into a Ross podcast. We have a lot more of those in our books.
After the first preseason game, it's gonna be all open season on Ross.
The guy that people should be worried about, or that he's gonna get playing time, is really DeLon Wright, because he does not have a path to minutes at this point. You see that path to minutes, path to the election season. So they always say path to victory. So DeLon Wright does not have a path to minutes right now. Because he's got Kyle Lowry and Corey Joe ahead of him at the point guard, and he's basically got Norman Powell ahead of him at the off guard. So what does he do, Will?
I mean, I think he's ready for NBA playing time. Like, he's relatively old for a sophomore. I think he's 24 now. Or no, he's 23. But he did get injured. He hurt his shoulder in summer league, and he's out for like 4 months. Yeah. So we're not going to see him until probably around January, and then he's probably going to be, I don't know. It sucks too, because I really like DeLon Wright. I think he's a smart player, clever player. I think this extra year off could be helpful too, because I think ultimately, like you said, there's a lot of point guards on the Raptors roster. But what the Raptors like to do with their offense is have both their guards sort of act like combo guards. You know what I mean? A lot of 2-point guard type sets. So, if you can use his time to like practice shooting, and we know he can facilitate and handle the ball. I think Yeah, I don't know. It's just I think ultimately like DeLon Wright's gonna be squeezed out of minutes for the second year in a row,
Yeah.
which kind of sucks.
As Coolio once said, he's 23 now, but will he live to see 24? The way things is going, I don't know.
He'll be all right. He'll be all right.
All right. I hope he satisfied Noreen Ramsey on her question. What's next, man?
Next one from our guy, Onions Baby.
Our guy? I don't even know this guy. Who is he?
He writes for the site, man.
Who?
Onions Baby. He writes for the site. Wow. All right, we gotta.
Don't know him.
That's his Twitter name. I'm blanking on his. Oh yeah, Cooper.
Oh, Cooper. Oh, Smithers
Yeah,
Cooper.
yeah.
Okay, I don't know his name's Onions Baby Onions. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a weird name. Okay.
Yeah, well, big fan. Big fan of the Swirsky.
Go on.
See, my computer's now freezing. This is great. Cooper. He asked a question about who's gonna play minutes at power forward, like starting power forward, not including spot minutes from Carroll. Who's the fourth big on opening night? Huh? Okay.
It's Jared Sullinger.
The fourth big?
Oh, you mean the fourth big? I thought you meant
Yeah,
the number 4 spot. The fourth big. Does the fourth big ever even play?
Well, who's the fourth big last year?
Didn't we just answer that question?
Like Scola? Was Scola the fourth big? Yeah, Scola's the fourth big.
I don't get the fourth. I don't understand the question. What does a fourth big mean? Like the second? Like explain that question.
I mean, you got the 2 starting bigs, and
okay.
Another big, and then the next big after that, the fourth big.
Come on. Didn't we just answer that question though?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. We said it for center. I don't know what you would do for power forward, but just power forward is kind of weird. It's a weird spot for the Raptors right now. Because I really can't see Patrick Patterson playing extended minutes. I don't think he'll start either for yet another year. I think Casey really likes him off the bench. He's like that for 2 years now.
What's Patrick Patterson's next contract, Will?
It's probably $15 million. Starting
15?
at 15.
I'd say 15. It's more. Ryan Anderson's at 21, man.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Anderson is a guy that can give you something consistently on offense, which is a little bit more valuable than someone who can give you something consistently on defense.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think Ryan Anderson's a better shooter. I think he's a better offensive player.
Yeah.
But I think overall, if you look at Patrick Patterson's defensive game, it's far superior to Ryan Anderson, and that's got to count for something in somebody's book. It's not a $6 million difference. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a lot more healthy than Ryan Anderson is. That's for sure.
That as well, yes.
Yeah, I mean, the Rockets currently don't care about defense or health. That's what their offseason was. They signed Eric Gordon to a 4-year deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, fourth big. I don't know, man. I want to see more of Carroll in a power forward spot, to be honest. I kind of like a bench unit where Carroll plays alongside Jared Sullinger at 4 and 5.
But that means that more Terrence Ross.
It's good for the podcast when Terrence Ross plays.
I really hope DeMarre Carroll stays healthy. Yeah, I think he's gonna play a pinch at power forward, but it so depends on what the like how well one of our 3, whatever, Pirtle, Nogueira, or Siakam, how well they perform. I think that goes a long way in saying who's the fourth big. Ideally, you don't want to move DeMarre Carroll over to the 4 because, face it, he's a small forward who can play the 4 in spots, but I don't think you want to go all Paul George on him and start him at the 4 or play heavy minutes at the 4. He's good where he is. I think at the 4 he also gets sucked a little too much into the paint, where he's not necessarily a 3-point shooter anymore. And DeMarre Carroll is supposed to be a good 3-point shooter, and I find that he gets those opportunities when he's at the wing instead of at the 4.
Also, I mean, I think DeMarre Carroll at the 4 is an option that you experiment with during the season, figure out how to play that arrangement, but then do it in limited doses. Because, I think DeMarre Carroll at the 4 for extended periods of time in the regular season, what's that for? You want to save that for the playoffs.
It's situational at best.
It's a lot of banging if you're playing the 4. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If we're seeing DeMarre Carroll at the 4, if we're seeing him at the 4 in November, there's probably other things wrong.
That's true. Although I could see him in the closing lineup. Remember at the start of the season, the closing lineup was DeMar, Lowry, I think it was Joseph for a lot of it, and then Carroll and Valanciunas. And that worked really well until people got injured.
What is our best defensive lineup in closing time? So let's start with let's kick people out first of all.
Okay, DeMar can't be on the floor for
Exactly.
the defensive lineup.
He cannot be.
Right?
Just
so
forget about it.
You could probably put Corey Joseph there alongside Lowry, and I guess you got Carroll at the 3. So that's a pretty good 1, 2, 3.
See,
and then the 4 and the 5.
On.
I mean, Patterson definitely for the 4, and then I guess the 5 has to be Jonas because the Raptors are kind of maybe even Sullinger. I don't know. I gotta say Jonas is probably better than Sullinger, but.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with and this lineup gives up rebounding a little bit, but I think overall, if you want to like be aggressive, this is where you go. You go Joseph and Lowry in the backcourt.
Yeah.
You go Powell at the 3.
Oh.
Right, because he played really well defensively against Paul George, and he's I think he's a good defender. Then you got Carroll at the 4. This is situational stuff I'm talking about. And then for the 5, it depends what the other team's doing, but here you could go either Patterson or Valanciunas, depending on if you want rebounding or if you want court coverage. So that's my best defensive. That's my closing lineup if you want to prioritize defense. Obviously,
that's pretty good.
Obviously, if you want DeMar DeRozan out there, one of those guys drops out, and I'd say if you got to put DeMar DeRozan in there, as much as I like Norman Powell, you got to take him out because you want Corey Joe's ball handling and ability to keep the dribble alive in there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We totally didn't. Did we answer the question?
Yeah, that's fine. We answered the question. You wanted to ask about fourth bigs.
Okay.
And we got it. Sorry for forgetting your name there. Onions, baby onions. It's a pretty good Twitter handle. Okay. From the whack 2. Man, some of these names. Trade ideas with the young guys. 2 picks coming up. Who gets moved? Can't keep everybody.
Why can't we keep everybody?
Well, I mean, look at the roster the way it is, right? There's already so many development players on the team, and that hasn't really changed this season. If anything, the Raptors just added 2 more in Siakam and Poeltl. And the Raptors are seriously going to try to contend, like you kind of need more reliability, more stability from those sort of deep bench spots. And right now, the Raptors, you can't really guarantee yourself anything by playing any of their young guys right now. So I think his point here is that the Raptors have 2 more picks in the next draft. Like the Raptors can't possibly keep all these players. So I think eventually some prospects will have to be moved.
Hey, that's what I thought in May, but turns out they drafted 2 guys. So I think all bets are off there. Like is he talking about like trading some of the young guys? Because if I look at the young guys, the only one that really has any value is the guy you really do not want to trade, and that's Norman Powell. The rest are basically nickels and dimes.
Yeah, I can't really see a team like wanting to take on Bebe.
Yeah.
Like definitely no one's taking on Bruno.
No.
No one's taking on Bruno.
No. Poeltl, maybe, but it's got to be part of a package.
Tradable, I think.
Yeah, but not on his own.
Yeah, well, you're not going to get much back anyway because the Raptors are over the cap, so the Raptors need to send some salary away as well.
And this comes back down to Terrence Ross, because he, at the end of the day, talent / salary / NBA trends / 3-point shooting, he's our most tradable asset. But the question really becomes, what are you going to get with Terrence Ross plus one of those guys that you mentioned? And if we can't get Brian Colangelo to bite on Nerlens Knowles, then I'm not sure how much you're going to get back with Terrence Ross.
I mean, okay, is Terrence Ross the Raptors' best 3-point shooter?
Spot up? I think so. Yeah.
It's like him or Lowry, right? Or maybe even Carroll. Carroll's underrated in terms of his shooting, I think.
No, I think let's give Ross his due. I think spot-up shooting overall, I think he's at 40% or something.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big thing to lose, right? I understand, like, I don't know. I think what ideally we want out of Ross is just Ross on a good day, because what happens with Ross is that he has one good day and then, like, 3 bad games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or he just disappears for stretches, but I don't know, man. I'm also at the point with Ross where I'm just like, it might be better just to hold on to him and continue to hope that he basically gets it, and that he turns. I think he could be like a Jamal Crawford at the next level. Like, that's probably his ceiling now, maybe. I mean, with a little bit better defense.
Dude, if that is a ceiling, I would hang on to him with everything I got. But I don't think that's a ceiling. I'll tell you who's a guy you might be able to get for Terrence Ross. And just hear me out on this. But you got to see, if you're gonna give up 3-point shooting, you got to get something else in return. So, and the guy you're gonna get may not be the best 3-point shooter. But here's a guy that I think you might be able to get, and depending on what your priorities are, you might even get interested.
Okay.
Don't laugh. Jay Crowder.
What? No. No.
What do you mean?
Celtics love Jay Crowder. The Celtics, by the way, Celtics fans all summer have been crazy, acting like they got Tim Duncan in free agency or something. Guys, you guys got Al Horford. Still not come out of the first round yet. Maybe chill. Raptors definitely the second best team in the league, right? In the Eastern Conference, you know.
They got
Anyway,
Jaylen
sorry,
Brown.
yeah,
They got Jaylen Brown
Yeah.
there. He's got to get some minutes. They got to come from somewhere. I think Jay Crowder is somebody that the Celtics would totally be willing to trade, except they're looking for something
Much
bigger
better than
in return,
Ross.
much better than Ross. So I think I think it'll be Celtics that'll balk at that trade, not the Raptors.
Oh, if the Raptors can swap um, Terrence Ross for DeMar Carroll 2.0, I would definitely do it. I'd much rather have a second DeMar Carroll on this team than one Terrence Ross. But
Okay, so that wasn't that
Yeah.
crazy of an idea.
I mean, yeah, I just the Jay Crowder contract I think is something that's really valuable. I think he signed for like $7 million a year for another 4 years. And that's incredible value, especially when guys like Kent Bazemore, who had one good season, is getting $17 million next year. So
Yeah. So now where I was going with this is that because the Celtics want to make a big trade and they want more assets or whatever, what you could do is you could give Terrence Ross plus those picks that the person who asked the questions mentioned, plus the quote unquote not garbage but whatever, the riffraff in let's say Pirtle or whatever, package that in. And then the Celtics might be interested because they might not be interested in the players they get from the Raptors, but it gives them a bigger package to trade out. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. The Celtics, it's Danny Ainge. Like, he's always sitting there trying to make a trade.
Exactly.
There's only problem with that is just Danny Ainge already has a lot of prospects on his team. Like, you see, like, he had, like, 8 picks in this summer's NBA draft, and I think he's stashing, like, 6 of them over abroad.
Yeah. I think the Celtics had, like, 13% of all picks.
Yeah, he drafted some dude named Gershon Yabusele, the 16th pick.
You just know that he just, a dart, name, threw it on. Gershon.
Yeah,
That's
Gershon. Gershon. Apparently he's a French Draymond Green, so people in the French league wear cups. All right, let's move through these questions a little bit quicker. There's actually a lot of them.
Remember Gina Gershon?
Who?
Gina Gershon? She was in Face Off, I think.
No.
All right, move on, Will.
All right. We kind of touched on this. Joe Grow asked, is JV's Olympic performance concerning on the next season? Not for the Raptors, not really.
No.
Same team, same core, and he's a player who's healthy and developing and improving as well. So I don't really see it as a problem. Plus, again, everyone has to keep in mind that the Olympics is like a very, very short tournament.
Yeah.
So this is 6 games. We've seen Jonas have 6 bad games in a row before.
Would you rather watch 2 summer league games featuring the Raptors, or would you watch the U.S. play, like, I don't know, Serbia twice?
Well, okay, if it's against Serbia, maybe, but I don't know, man. I kind of really love the Raptors summer league games, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're fun. Yeah. What's that guy, Drew Crawford? Raptors signed him. That's a smart play, by the way, because he's the son of Danny Crawford, the ref.
Oh yeah, really?
That's a smart move.
Yeah, but he's not officiating any Raptor games, guaranteed.
Come on. Yeah. Danny Crawford, you come here, buddy.
Hey, brother, remember like all those rumors? Oh, the Wizards just signed like Kevin Durant's like high school coach's nephew.
Yep.
And then like that's gonna give him the inside track, and the guy goes to Golden State.
Yo, he didn't even take a meeting with Washington. Man, I was really afraid of Washington after last summer. I was like, they made the second round of the playoffs again. Beal and Wall are a really good, talented core. If they get Durant, like that's could be the top team in the East. Yeah. And just one terrible season. Our buddy Bonesaw says, just talk about Kyle Lowry being the best point guard at the Olympics for the entire podcast. I don't think he was the best point guard at the Olympics because he, other teams had great point guards. I thought Campazzo played really well for Argentina, and Calientes played real well for Lithuania. But I mean, I would say Lowry. I mean, I said earlier in the podcast, I thought Lowry played better than Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, but this reminded me of something else. Sorry, I'm not going to answer that question. Ricky Rubio's on the block. You could have him
Yes.
whenever you want. Like
No, the Raptors. We're set, man.
Yeah.
We're set. I like Rubio though. He's a great passer. He's probably not great for the
But did he pan out?
U.S. game.
You think he panned out as what the hype was when he came in?
Well, you gotta remember at the time, it was to 2008 Olympics. Ricky Rubio was like 19 or something at the time, and he was like going toe to toe with like Jason Kidd, Darren Williams, Chris Paul, and you're like, wow, this Spanish kid, he's incredible. It was very obvious from the beginning. He's got incredible vision. I guess he hasn't really panned out. He's turned out to be a good player. I would say an average starting point guard.
Mm-hmm.
But was it worth passing up on Steph Curry for? Probably not. Was it worth passing up on DeMar DeRozan for? Probably not.
Mm.
And then I don't remember this, but David Kahn, who obviously terrible GM, one of the all-time worst, signed Kevin Love to a 4-year deal with like a fourth-year player option. So really a 3-year deal because he wanted to save his 5-year max for Rubio. And that forced him to trade Love early. And now Rubio's not getting the 5 years.
Here's when he came into the league, his question mark was his jump shooting, like his mid-range shot or his three-point shot. His mid-range shot the year he came in was at 29%. That was his mid-range shooting. Last year, it's at 23%. Overall, his jump shooting is at 27% in the mid-range area, which is where he gets most of his looks. Like that's the shot that Rajon Rondo got better at making, so he could become the assist leader in the NBA. Like he improved in that area over the course of time. Rubio just has not. I don't know why it is. Like you know how sometimes I wonder like
it's an ugly jumper.
It's got a lot of problems. But you know how I always say like DeMar DeRozan might have been a much better player than he is if he had gotten some excellent coaching in his career. I think the same might be true for Rubio, who never really. I just never felt that he got the right coaching that he needed. He was always in Minnesota, never really got under somebody's wing and learned something, never played with a great point guard. So he was kind of left to his own devices, and this is what you get after 5 years in the NBA. So I think at this point he's a known quantity, and he's not going to discover or maybe he might, but I think at this point he's pretty much done.
This is my terrifying. Like I'm terrified of the Spurs trading for guys like Rubio. You know what I mean? Like players that have like obviously Rubio has some skills as a player. He's a good defender, really good defender really as a point guard, and just fantastic passer. Just the only thing is he can't score up with a jump shot in a pick and roll league. If you can't shoot as a point guard, it's hard to make create an effective offense. You know, if he gets with the Spurs, that guy Chip Engelland out there that reconstructed Kawhi Leonard's jump shot to the point where Kawhi is like a 49% three-point shooter now, like, you know, that could be terrifying. So,
little known fact, that's the same guy that worked on Tiger Woods' golf swing.
What? Really?
No, I just picked that up.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, Lowry. Yeah, Lowry's a great point guard, and he's better than Kyrie in most situations. There's a lot of people worried about Lowry and stuff. Don't worry about Lowry, man. He didn't shoot well in the Olympics. He didn't really have to. It's fine. Again, it's like for the United States, those 8 games. I think Lowry shot something like 25% from deep. Whatever.
You got any more questions?
A lot of questions.
Let's take a couple more.
I'll take 2 more. Thanks everyone for sending in questions. Sometimes we just ramble on this podcast for no reason and waste all the time. From Paul Dawkins, could KC employ more zone defense this year? Sans Bismack and with no tested backup center, zone will relieve pressure off JV. What do you think of zone defense in the NBA nowadays?
You don't see much of it, do you?
Nope.
And I think with zone, what people forget is that, yeah, it's cool to play situational zone, but it just wreaks havoc on your rebounding. And the Raptors, like, KC has played zone in the past, with JV in there, with similar group of guys, with DeRozan, with Lowry, but the results have been mixed. But the reason that I feel confident they might be able to play zone better this year is a guy like DeMario Carroll, because he's got the intelligence to play zone, be in position for rebounding, so on and so forth. In the past, they haven't had that good defensive wing that might allow them to play zone more effectively, and they've ended up basically giving up offensive rebounds a lot. But as a strategy overall, I just don't think you need to play it. Like, what are you forcing teams to shoot from outside? People can already shoot from outside. That's when you force people to like shoot from distance. And now if you look at the teams around the league, they already got good 3-point shooting, so it might just backfire on you, especially if you don't have good rebounding.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that Jonas is like as a low IQ basketball player. Sometimes he comes off as that. He just looks very clumsy, but I think it's best for Jonas just because he's not working with the most athleticism and awareness out there, that like it's best for the defense to keep it simple for him. You know what I mean? Like, remember 2 seasons ago the Raptors had Jonas coming out the 3-point line, trapping, like hedging hard at the 3-point line, maybe sometimes even beyond, and then making him rotate and stuff. That's difficult. You got to make reads, you got to be quick enough to make all these rotations. And zone, like, first of all, he's got to be able to avoid, like, the 3 seconds in the paint, all this other stuff, and we see Jonas get called for that a lot. But also, like, Jonas is mostly effective when you just ice pick and rolls. That's it. You have him drop back, protect the basket, be in position to rebound, and he does that effectively. So, I mean, zone is situational defense. I love that idea, but in terms of sustained, just zone is just not fit for the NBA anymore.
And it also kills your offense, especially like depending on type of zone you play. And if you're asking your guards to come and rebound,
no transition points.
There's no transition points. Now, the Raptors aren't a team which relies heavily on transition points, but you'd like them to be more of that. Like, right now, I think they're too half-court dependent, where they're relying on DeMar DeRozan to get to the line and so on. Next year, if there's one thing that I'm looking forward to, is that hopefully they get a little more transition-y, especially with Norman Powell getting more minutes. He loves to push it in transition. You play zone, and suddenly you kind of reduce the chances of that happening. So I'm not a big fan of it. Back in the NBA, like when things were, people couldn't shoot or whatever, it was a sound strategy, and a lot of teams used it against the Raptors. I remember Antoine Wright clanging, 3 after 3 because the Raptors. Because
you can play whatever kind of defense you want against Antoine Wright; it'll work.
But I remember, like, during the Chris Bosh era, a lot of teams played zone against us, and it ended up with the Raptors becoming a completely like a jump shot heavy team. So I have some bad memories of zone.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Okay, we'll take one last question from @Davinu with 2 U's. Will the Raptors max out Kyle Lowry like this summer? I guess they mean next summer, because Lowry has a player option for $12 million that he's going to turn down, barring catastrophic injury or something. Which, knock on wood.
So when you say max out, are we talking about the 5-year?
Probably 2017. Lowry could be a free agent. We don't know what the CBA is going to look like, because there might be a
we
lock.
kind of do.
That's pretty big, but it seems like the players are pretty happy right now. They're getting paid a lot of money because of the new TV deal. Both sides seem pretty.
So I guess the question is this: would you pay a 31-year-old Kyle Lowry $25 million a year?
Oh, it's more than 25.
Okay, so let's say 30.
It's 35.
It's 35. Okay, this is okay. This is getting quite ridiculous.
He has 35% of the cap because he has 10 or more years of experience, and I think the cap is going to be at 110 million.
Okay, so would you pay a 31-year-old Kyle Lowry $35 million a year for the next 4 years? Jeez, that. I mean, as great as he has been, that seems excessive. Again, the percentage of the cap and all that shit makes it sound like whatever, but that's extreme, man. I would say, if you ask me now, I'd say no.
But here's the thing: if you don't re-sign Kyle Lowry, then what the hell are you doing with this franchise, right? Because he's like by far the most.
Okay.
Like, you take Lowry off this team and you replace him with like say Ricky Rubio, this team wins 40 games maybe.
I would okay.
Not a 56-win team.
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
He's a guy who expends a lot of energy, and he's a little guy. I just don't know how well his type plays when they're like 32, 33. So I would have no issue giving him a $35 million deal for 2 years. But I think after that, it has a potential to not be very good. But then I'm talking to myself here. Would he have trade value at that point? I don't think so. I don't think he'd have. I don't think you could offload him at the age of 33 when he's underperforming to another team. So I'd say 2-year deal for Kyle Lowry, and I think he might understand that and take that.
I mean, he might get more than that though, right? Like you look at like Mike Conley, who's like a comparable player to Lowry. Now Conley is 3 years younger, but actually Conley's like I think Conley's actually played more minutes in his career because Lowry. I think that's one of the things with Lowry. Like he might not break down as quickly as other people because he kind of hit his prime when he's a 28-year-old. Didn't really get consistent minutes before that.
Yeah, but Dwayne Casey made sure that the last 3 years was 34 minutes a game last year.
That is true. That is true. God damn. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I would try to get him on a 3-year deal, but I said the same thing about DeMar. I guess that was a little bit less realistic with DeMar because he's younger, and Lowry, this is going to be the last big contract Lowry signs, but man, like you said, one of the things I think that might get baked into the CBA is an amnesty clause.
Yeah.
Just like last time.
Yeah.
Especially when contracts kind of go out of control, and I think that one team, if we have an amnesty clause, I don't think re-signing Lowry to like a 4-year, $120 million deal is as dicey as it sounds.
Yeah.
I would not go more than 4 years. But yeah. I do want to re-sign Lowry because the Raptors don't make any sense without Lowry anymore.
100%.
You got to rebuild the whole thing if you take away Lowry.
100%. I'm totally for the re-signing. I pay him the money. I don't care if this amnesty clause, great. But I don't think. First of all, I don't think this actually affects like MLSE. Like, oh, we don't have any more money to spend. I'm just talking from a cap perspective. That at 33, it might not be ideal. Here's one thing that I always kind of think about, man, is that we talk about Masai Ujiri and we practically worship the guy, but Jesus, man, he traded Kyle Lowry. He traded him, and that it was the Knicks' stupidity that allowed us to retain Kyle Lowry. I feel like that's a point in history that sometimes isn't talked about enough.
I mean, speaking of points of history, this is a shameless plug for my little personal blog, medium.com/thedefeated. I wrote a piece this week about Landry Fields. Remember Landry Fields?
Of course I remember Landry Fields.
Do you remember how Landry Fields ended up on the Raptors?
The poison pill contract for Brian Colangelo and Steve Nash.
Exactly, he wanted to handcuff the Knicks.
Yeah.
So he can sign Steve Nash.
Yeah.
Steve Nash ends up going to the Lakers. Remember, because the Raptors' whole pitch was like, you can be a hero of Canada, and we will pay you a lot of money to do it, because Brian Colangelo's job's in danger.
Yeah.
And they signed Landry Fields. And I guess because Nash left, we got the plan B that turned into Kyle Lowry, and it turned into this whole franchise. So, I mean, yeah. Masai, Masai has some weird things on his resume, like trading for JaVale McGee, first of all, and then signing him to a 4-year, $50 million deal was kind of weird.
It was weird, but
I can understand the Lowry thing, by the way. I totally understand the Lowry thing. I don't think anyone saw that Lowry can consistently be sort of all-star, play at an all-star type level, because, looking back, you would never make that deal, Lowry for Shumpert, Tim Hardaway Jr. in a 2018 first-round pick.
Hey,
at the time, the Raptors looked like they were headed for the Wiggins sweepstakes, and if it wasn't for Lowry suddenly becoming a star overnight and carrying the franchise to 48 wins along with DeRozan,
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, man. I love Masai. I think he just signed a contract, or they're in negotiations of a new contract, right?
Yeah. Apparently the Knicks, actually, funny enough, always the Knicks. The Knicks wanted Masai Ujiri. Even though it's just leverage.
Yeah. So okay, that's fine. Masai Ujiri, love the guy. I just felt that that he did trade him, and it's an interview by Lowry where he goes, "I was packing my bags," and the trade fell through. So it was I don't know. It's something kind of neat in Raptors history.
Definitely.
By the way, but it's been a couple of years now, and I can't get myself to wear the Raptors logo, man. It's too ugly. Like I thought it would grow on me over the last couple of years or whatever, year and a half since this came out. It just hasn't.
Did you wear the claw?
Oh yeah, 100%. I had a couple of T-shirts with the claw, which I love.
Did you wear the TR with the Raptors sort of creeping around the T?
No. I wore the claw, and I wore the actual, like, the original logo, the purple one, which was something unique and classic, and it was always nice. But this one, can't get myself to do it.
It's just like all the gear kind of looks a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
I think the color scheme is really good.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the logo itself, I thought it was fine at the time. I thought it was just something you could put it on anything, and it's something that I think it looks better on hats.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. Some part of it doesn't look distinctive enough. You got to really look at the basketball to realize, a Raptor scratched the basketball.
having said that, I like the uniforms from last year. I thought those were really well done. It's just the
everything
logo.
Everything else is good. The logo looks a bit weird.
It's even the court. It's not happening for me, man. Actually, you know what? Like, if I have to buy NBA gear, I actually buy Bulls gear because I still think the Bulls logo is the coolest logo in professional sports.
They don't change it ever.
It's never been changed.
They got it right in the first time.
Yeah. That's the ultimate logo, I'd say. The Bulls.
Go out there and get yourself a Rajon Rondo Bulls jersey.
Oh God, we should do an East preview at some point.
Yeah, probably next week.
Yeah, and next week
I don't want to commit to that. Yeah, okay. Scratch this on the pod.
All right. Nothing will be scratched. It's summertime and no editing is done on these. So I think this is a good time to call it quits and say, listener, thank you for suffering through us and listening to us for the last hour or so. If you want to support Raptors Republic, go to patreon.com/Raptors Republic. And of course, Will has his own empire of basketball going on. Will, go ahead and tell us what you're up to.
Yeah, I mean, I've been itching the blog recently, so I've been writing a lot on my Medium site. Again, medium.com/the/defeated. It's great. It's a great blog, personally. I think it's great. I think you should read it. I'm going to stall while I pull up my list of articles because I totally forgot what I've written about.
By the way, it's medium.com/the-defeated.
Oh, -defeated. Yeah, don't slash again. Hyphenate that. Yeah, okay. So I mean, I wrote this sort of long rambling essay on Landry Fields and how sometimes things don't work out, and obviously the Raptors were trying for Steve Nash, and then that somehow turned into Kyle Lowry. I think that's one of the craziest things that ever happened in Raptors history, and we just talked about that. I wrote a piece on how the Raptors stack up against the Celtics. I'm sure anyone who's on basketball Twitter, like I am, too much, but. I don't know if you've seen this, Zarar, but like a lot of Celtics fans are really, really excited about their team. They're saying how they're better than the Raptors, and
no,
I don't think so, man.
No.
I don't think so. I don't think when the 26th worst rebounding team in the league loses their best rebounder, then replaces him with Al Horford, who rebounded like a small forward last year, is going to help as much as they think they're going to help. But like I like the Celtics. They're a good team. It's going to be interesting. I like the rivalry. I mean, I'm sure, Zarar, you're tempted to uncensor yourself with the next season because the Raptors always play the Celtics well.
Yeah.
Always a fun game.
Yeah.
And I wrote about the Sullinger signing, a lot of things. One thing you can find on the piece that Sullinger is a really good outlet passer. It's going to be fun when he throws outlets to Norman Powell.
And there you go. That's Will.
Read that stuff, man.
That's Will. Medium.com/the-defeated.
Yeah, that's not a good URL at all.
Yeah.
No.
Definitely got to fix that one. But guys, make sure you rate us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, whatever. Look for the Rapcast. We'll be back next week, or somebody will be back next week because I'm off to a cottage. Man. I actually rented a cottage. And we're
nice.
off
Where?
It's like 3 hours up north somewhere. I don't know.
Tobermory, probably.
No. It's like it's more than that actually. I forget the name right now.
All right.
But yeah, so I'll be off. So maybe Blake, maybe Will, I don't know. Atlantic preview, Eastern Conference preview, who knows what it is. But I agree with you, Will. The Celtics rivalry is something we got to look forward to next year. And but I still think the Raptors are the second best team of the East right now. So Will, thanks again, man, for coming on, man.
Yeah, always, baby.
Listener, thank you very much. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.